Disaster management teams are on high alert in KwaZulu-Natal after a severe thunderstorm warning was issued by the South African Weather Service. So in the past few days, many parts of the country, in fact, have been grappling with heavy rains and thunderstorms that often lead to flooding in particular areas. In Mpumalanga, 2 boys also died after they were struck by lightning while playing soccer at a local sports field. Let's unpack the story for you now. We're joined by senior weather forecaster Puseletso Mofokeng. Great to have you with us on the program this morning, Puseletso. Take us through, it's that time of the year where we don't ordinarily associate this kind of flash flooding in the country. Why now, in November?
Good morning, Michelle, and good morning to the viewers as well. Indeed, it's actually the right time to have this kind of weather. In terms of the flash flooding, the severe thunderstorms, the lightning, that's actually the right time. So basically, even what had happened along the Garden Route yesterday, we issued the possibility for flash flooding. It was level 2 yesterday, as we have issued them. It was issued on Sunday for Monday, and indeed we had seen that on Monday the rainfall was quite terrible. There were quite huge storms there along the south coast. And again, we did issue severe thunderstorms for the southern Free State, the eastern parts of the Eastern Cape, including KwaZulu-Natal. So basically, those are the conditions that had happened when after they were reported. But I must add that last night, there was also a huge thunderstorm that actually moved from Zimbabwe to northeastern parts of Limpopo, those Vembe municipality. So that was not forecasted for. However, we had to react at the time when the storm was occurring to actually advise the communities there that there is a possibility of flooding.
So, Puseletso, we're used to these kinds of thunderstorms, particularly in Gauteng for this time of the year, aren't we? But for the Southern Cape, we normally associate this kind of heavy rainfall for the winter months. What makes us in Gauteng more susceptible to this weather this time of year?
Well, we are experiencing in Gauteng, basically, when we have a lot of rain, for example, heavy rain, it would be because of what we call tropical temperate trough. In other words, the continued flow of moisture from north, that is from the north, from Botswana, from Namibia, from Angola, reaching the central areas of South Africa, Free State, Northwest. So in that case, we can have a possibility of flooding. We can also have a possibility of severe thunderstorms. For instance, when you have a cut-off flow, we are expecting one to be affecting the country, especially on Friday. The eastern parts of the Northern Cape, the Free State, as well as the Northwest, would actually be affected by the strong winds, very strong winds that may be damaging, and also that some of the storms may be severe on that particular day. However, I must also add that here in Gauteng, on Saturday, there might be a chance for extreme thunderstorms. That will include provinces like Free State and the Northwest.
I mean, sad news coming this week. 2 children passing away after being struck by lightning in Mpumalanga. We know that kind of weather in Gauteng very well as well, Puseletso. What's the advice? How should I be behaving in a thunderstorm where there is heavy rain, lightning? If I'm outdoors, what do I do? If I'm indoors, what's some of the advice?
Perhaps before I answer the question directly, I must point out that yes, in Gauteng it's quite common. This is because we have a large population, and it's well reported when incidents like this happen. But incidents of lightning, in terms of injuries and deaths, they normally happen in KwaZulu-Natal. That is where they are happening in high number. Obviously followed by the Eastern Cape. This is because those 2 provinces are quite mountainous, and that also includes Mpumalanga. And here in Gauteng, Free State, Northwest, the numbers are more or less equal. They are very low. Just as those 3 provinces necessarily record very high number of deaths. So it's just that here in Gauteng, they are quite reported, even if it's maybe 1 or 2. So it becomes a huge story. But otherwise, this is what we can do when we're outdoor. You see, ordinarily people would become very careful when the rainfall is occurring overhead. Ordinarily people will avoid the the thunderstorms or the lightning when the rainfall is occurring at the time. However, the most danger probably happen once the storm is approaching, before the actual rainfall starts. People will continue doing their things, for example, playing football, playing cricket, playing golf.
Even swimming, some people, Puseletso.
Come again?
Even swimming. Some people, you know, especially in areas like Gauteng, for example, the rain is often accompanied by quite warm weather, and sometimes people will be swimming at the start of a storm.
That is correct. As soon as the storm is approaching, that's when people think that the danger is not yet there, and that's where deaths would come, most injuries would come. So things like obviously continuing to drive the tractors and things like that would actually cause a lot of problems in terms of injuries and deaths. So that's what perhaps people could avoid when the storm is approaching. Also, soon after the storm has passed, normally people assume that the storm has ended, but the lightning could actually be sent back. For instance, I also have been I'm a survivor basically of lightning. I couldn't stretch my arm for over a month.
Sure.
When I was still very young, because the storm had just moved through, and I thought it's gone. I continued washing my hands, and unfortunately, it hit back. So as soon as the storm has moved through, we have to allow it to go as far away as possible, so that there isn't any danger. Normally, most dangers happen soon before the storm actually reached the area, and soon after the storm has passed. But during the rainfall itself, people are generally very careful.
I mean, if you're indoors, if you're in your homes, we've heard reports of people being struck by lightning or their homes being struck by lightning as well. So if you're indoors, Puseletso, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're 100% protected either. Or what's your take?
That is correct. For instance, we know that you have your time, or anyone would have the time to say, by 6 o'clock I'm preparing to go to school or to go to work. Maybe they are used to getting into the bath. That is, when there is lightning, I think that has to be changed. You rather have just wiped yourself instead of getting into the water in full. Or maybe not washing the dishes, or maybe not using the metal, even within the house. Also, things like the electrical appliances are very dangerous. Using the cell phone and stuff like that can actually still attract the lightning and obviously lead to injuries or deaths. So these are things that are to be avoided, even if you are indoors.
Puseletso, Mofokeng, let me thank you for your time. Some really valuable advice there, especially after what unfolded in Mpumalanga. 10 people, in fact, struck by lightning, and those 2 men aged around 18 years losing their lives in a thunderstorm after being struck by lightning. Some great advice there, particularly if you live in areas that are susceptible to those storms.